Most overcaring loops come from an invisible success metric that you didn't consciously choose. So you can ask, what am I calling success in this situation? Whose definition is that? What would it look like to define success as presence, courage, or self-respect? Welcome to the Choose Better Thoughts podcast. I'm Amanda Doyle, certified life and leadership coach, here to help high-achieving women use practical mindset tools to live your complex life with more ease. Each week, you'll learn how to lead with more confidence at work, stay regulated and present in parenting, and actually enjoy the life that you've worked so hard to build. So pop in your earbuds and let's do some coaching. If you've ever sent an email and then reread it 5 times, wondering if you came across the wrong way, or if you've ever replayed a conversation in your head on loop, trying to figure out if you said too much or maybe not enough, or if your mood has ever hinged on someone else's approval or their silence, then you know what it feels like to care too much. And not because you're fragile, not because you're overreacting, but because you do care. You care about doing good work. You care about showing up well. You care about being someone people can count on. But somewhere along the way, maybe caring has turned into over-caring, into over-managing, over-attaching, over-analyzing, into trying to earn your worth by obsessively curating how you're perceived, how things land, how they're received, how they're interpreted. And then your peace, your power, your sense of safety, they all become hooked into things that you can't fully control. This episode is for you if you've been feeling that hook and you want to unhook with grace. We're not talking about becoming indifferent or disengaged. We're talking about a different kind of care, a cleaner kind, one that's rooted in self-trust instead of this self-surveillance. And I will be honest, this shows up for me in my own coaching practice. I care so deeply about my clients. I care about their experience in my coaching program. I care about whether they reach their goals or not. But if I care too much, I get grippy. I start trying to manage their experience. I over-offer. Sometimes I even slip into advice giving. And no one likes to be coached by someone who's low-key trying to control the outcome. Whether I'm aware of it or not, it doesn't help them grow. It actually interrupts their process. Because that's the thing about over-caring. It often comes from love, but it feels like pressure. And that's not the kind of care any of us want to give or receive. So today we're going to look at how to care in a way that's clean, how to be committed without becoming consumed. Because caring less, it doesn't make you careless. It makes you clearer, more grounded, and more powerful. So let's get into it. So what does it really mean to care too much? At its core, caring is a beautiful thing. It's presence, it's investment. It's wanting to do right by people, by your work, and by your values. But over-caring is something else entirely. It's not about depth of feeling. It's about distorted responsibility. And here is the tricky part. Not all care is the same. Let's look at a few different types of care. Maybe you help your child name their big emotions after a hard day, not to make the feelings go away, but because you want them to feel safe and seen. That's emotional care rooted in love, offered without attachment to the outcome. Or maybe you take time to prep a thoughtful agenda for your team because you value their time and you want to lead well. That's practical care, offered with integrity, not perfectionism. Maybe you spend 20 minutes reading a 2-line email because you're afraid of sounding too abrupt. That's image-based care, and that's driven by how you want to be perceived. Or maybe you say yes to a volunteer role, even though you are completely maxed out because you're afraid of being seen as selfish. That's fear-based care, rooted in anxiety, not alignment. The first two of these come from love. The second two come from pressure. On the outside, image-based care and fear-based care can look like dedication, but often on the inside, it feels like anxiety. Because when care is driven by image or fear of being misunderstood, of being disappointing, or of being judged, you're not just investing, you are attaching. So I want you to think just for a moment, what is one form of care you're offering right now in your work or in your parenting, in other relationships? And consider for a moment, is it flowing from love or is it flowing from pressure? Let's talk for now, just for a minute, about why caring less feels so hard. Caring less, especially for high-achieving women, is not a simple mindset tweak. It is a real emotional risk, a nervous system event. And if it feels hard to let go, there are good reasons for that. I'm going to give you 4 reasons why caring less can feel really hard. Number 1, your brain is wired for completion and certainty. From a neuroscience perspective, the brain does not like open loops. It wants resolution, clarity, control. When you've invested effort in something, even if it's just a message, a meeting, or if it's a relationship, it feels unfinished until you've received some sort of reassuring signal, a yes, or you did great, or that worked. So your brain keeps checking, replaying, tuning in like a surveillance drone. It's not because you're neurotic. It's because your brain is trying to keep you safe. The problem is safety and certainty are not the same thing. And when your self-worth is tied to uncertain outcomes, the brain stays on high alert. And it is no wonder that you feel exhausted. Reason number 2, social conditioning told you that care is your job. For many women, especially those raised to be good and helpful and thoughtful, care isn't just something that you give. It's who your subconscious brain thinks that you are. You're the reliable one, the intuitive one, the one who picks up on unspoken needs and fills the gaps. Not because you're performing, but because it feels like your role. So when you try to care a little less, it doesn't just feel uncomfortable. It can feel disloyal, like you're betraying your own values or stepping out of your own identity. It's no wonder that a clean, healthy form of detachment can feel almost wrong, especially when the world has praised you for your over-efforting, over-giving, and over-functioning. Reason number 3, your nervous system may be using over-caring as a safety strategy. According to polyvagal theory, your body's sense of safety isn't just about physical threat. It's also relational. If you've learned that being attuned keeps the peace and earns connection or helps you stay emotionally safe, your nervous system might actually equate over-caring with actual survival. That email spiral or that replay loop, that urge to double check how someone feels about you, that might not be just your mindset. That might be your body trying to stay connected, to feel safe, to feel in control. But here's the reframe. You are actually safe right now. You are allowed to let go, even if your body isn't totally on board yet. And also, over-caring has gotten you results. You probably got good grades. You got a good job. You got a reputation for being the one who always shows up. So of course your brain says, this is the way, don't stop now. Of course it feels risky to loosen the grip. Of course it feels vulnerable to let people have their own thoughts about you. But here's the paradox. When you stop hustling for worth through control, you actually become more present, more creative, and more grounded. Not because you're disengaged, but because you're finally aligned. So I am curious. Is there anywhere in your life right now where letting go feels especially risky? Can you trace that tension back to one of these 4 roots? Your brain's need for certainty, or your conditioning, or your nervous system, or your past rewards? And consider if anything shifts for you right now when you offer yourself just a little bit of compassion for why this feels hard. So, how do we actually start to care less without disconnecting in a way that is clean but not cold? These aren't surface level swaps. These are shifts in the way you relate to your thoughts and your energy and your sense of self. So, here are 4 key strategies to help you make that shift. Strategy number 1, separate care from control. This is one of the most powerful distinctions you can make. Care says, I'm invested in how I show up. Control says, I need to manage how it's received. The shift begins when you notice the moment that care turns into attachment. Try asking your brain, am I offering my best here or trying to engineer a specific outcome? Am I grounded in contribution or gripping for control? And then just let your answer be honest, not performative or self-critical, just curious. And here are some clean, grounded ways that your brain might respond. I'm definitely gripping a little. I want them to think I handled it perfectly. I notice I'm trying to guarantee they feel seen so that I'll feel safe. Part of me wants to make sure no one's disappointed, but I can't control that. I showed up thoughtfully. The rest is out of my hands. I care, but I'm also afraid. That's okay. I don't need to fix it. I just want to notice it. These kinds of responses don't shame you. They name what's happening with clarity and compassion, and that's what loosens the grip. And taking a moment to name what's going on with you before you continue taking action, this can save you a ton of time. Let's say you're about to rewrite an email for the 4th time. If you pause and you notice, okay, I've already said what I mean. Now I'm trying to protect how it's going to land. Just naming that can interrupt the spin. And suddenly you realize the work is actually done. You're just looping. Instead of spending 20 more minutes wordsmithing to make sure that no one's confused or offended or underwhelmed, you just send the theme and move on about your day. That's 20 minutes back, not just of your time, but of your mental energy. And more importantly, you've just practiced trust over control. And the moment of awareness, it builds on itself. Pretty soon, you're not rewriting everything. You're just writing, and then you move on with your day. Strategy number 2, anchor into process, not outcome. When you anchor into process, you shift from the question, will this be enough, to did I show up with integrity? You can ask, how do I want to feel while I do this? What's the energy I want to bring into this conversation or this project or this room? This kind of presence is contagious and it's also sustainable. For example, so instead of rereading the email, send it with the energy that you want the reader to feel. Maybe you want them to feel clarity, calm, respect, warmth. Take a breath, reread it once with that energy in mind, not to fix it, but to feel into it. And if it already reflects that energy, then you're done. You're not sending it to control their reaction. You're sending it as an aligned expression of your intention. That's the difference between obsessing and offering. Or let's say you're heading into a tricky conversation, maybe a feedback moment or a check-in with your boss. Instead of strategizing what to say perfectly, show up curious and clean. Your brain wants to rehearse every possible version of what might be said and how to respond to every possible reaction. So then you end up spending 45 minutes crafting the perfect phrasing instead of preparing your presence. So try this. Pause and ask, what do I genuinely want to understand or communicate here? Let that intention guide you, not a pre-approved script. So you might show up and say, I've been thinking about how that meeting went and I wanted to check in. Can we talk it through? Or maybe even, I'm not here to convince, just to connect and see where we are. You're not walking in to win. You're walking in with curiosity and clarity. That's what it means to show up clean, not polished, just present. Instead of replaying a moment on loop, what you said, how they reacted, what you should have done, you can pause and ask, did I stay in alignment with how I want to live? So let's say a coworker messaged you late at night, but you didn't respond. The next morning, you wrote back kindly but clearly, hey, I saw your message this morning. I've started unplugging after 6 to protect my family time. Happy to pick this up today. Now, your brain is spiraling. Was that too blunt? Are they annoyed? Should I have just answered last night? Instead of rehashing this moment, you can just ask yourself, was I respectful? Was I honoring a value I want to live by? Would I feel good about my kids or clients setting that same boundary? If the answer is yes, that's your clarity. That's your alignment. You don't need to replay it to feel safe. You just need to remember that you made a choice on purpose. Strategy number 3, redefine what success means for you. Most overcaring loops come from an invisible success metric that you didn't consciously choose. So you can ask, what am I calling success in this situation? Whose definition is that? What would it look like to define success as presence, courage, or self-respect? For example, maybe you're helping your child with homework. They're tired, you're tired, it's not going well. Your brain is subconsciously telling you that success looks like getting it done, staying calm the whole time, and ending with a proud, grateful hug. But what if success in that moment isn't about the worksheet? What if success could sound more like this? I stayed connected to myself while my child had big emotions. I chose presence over pressure. I modeled how to pause instead of push through. This redefinition matters a lot because when the invisible metric is a perfect outcome with no resistance, every single little bump feels like failure. But if your definition of success is alignment with your values, you can walk away from the exact same moment with peace instead of guilt. And when that becomes your metric, you care just as deeply, but you stop measuring yourself by things that were never meant to be in your control. So again, this isn't about letting yourself off the hook. It's about getting super honest. Am I chasing someone else's approval, or am I working to build my own peace? And finally, strategy number 4, practice being misunderstood. This one is so tender and true. If you're doing this work, if you're loosening your grip, softening your control, reclaiming your energy, some people will notice and they may not like it. They might interpret your calm as coldness, your boundary as distance, your clarity as indifference, and it will be tempting to rush in and fix that. But what if being misunderstood is not failure? What if it's actually progress? So let's say you've always been the person who jumps in, over-prepares, and responds super fast. You're known for your reliability, but also for never really stopping. Lately, though, you've been practicing something different. You've stopped replying to messages late at night. You're letting non-urgent requests wait. You're giving just enough without chasing gold stars. Then in a team meeting, someone says lightly, "Oh, I figured you'd already be on it." Or maybe, "Wait, you're not coming to that prep call?" Or even just, "I was surprised not to hear from you." Nothing dramatic, nothing overtly critical, just enough to trigger that old reflex. Do they think I'm slacking? Do I still need to prove I'm committed? But what if you didn't? What if you just let them think what they think and you know why you made the choice? This is where your growth lives, and letting the story stay incomplete, in not rushing to patch up someone else's perception of you. Not because you don't care, but because you're no longer outsourcing your worth to whether they get you. Being misunderstood is super uncomfortable, but sometimes it's the clearest sign that you're no longer managing everyone else's expectations at the expense of your own peace of mind. So you don't have to overhaul your patterns overnight, but you can take one small, powerful step toward caring differently today. I'm going to offer you 4 ways to begin, each one aligned with the strategies we explored. And I challenge you to pick one for yourself that feels like something that you might want to try. So strategy 1, separating care from control. Maybe send the message without reading it 5 times. Instead of asking, will they like it? Ask, did I say what I mean with clarity and care? Then release it. Strategy 2, anchoring into the process over the outcome. Before a meeting or conversation, simply set an intention. I want to stay grounded and open while I do this. Let how you feel during the process be your feedback, not what happens after. Strategy number 3, redefining what success means. Pick one area of your life, work or parenting or relationships, personal health, and rewrite the metric. Instead of, did they approve? Try, was it aligned with my values? Did I lead with clarity and care? Keep that new definition visible. Write it down. Let it become your North Star so you're no longer measuring success by something you can't control. And finally, strategy number 4, practicing being misunderstood. Say no without cushioning it. Don't explain your boundary. Don't rush to soften their discomfort. Let someone think what they think and notice what it feels like to stay with yourself. I'd love you to pause now and consider which one you think you might want to try today. These strategies are not about withdrawing. They're about offering what's real and letting it be enough. Yes, your nervous system might protest. You might feel edgy and exposed or a little guilty. And that's not a problem. That's the stretch. You're building a new kind of strength, one that's rooted in presence instead of performance, in clarity, not control, in self-trust. And so the next time your brain offers you that thought, but what if they think I don't care? You can pause and remind yourself, I cared in a way that I respect, and that's enough. Thanks for listening to the Choose Better Thoughts podcast. If this episode gave you a new perspective, please pass it on to a friend or leave a quick review. It helps so much. And if you're ready to go deeper, this is exactly the kind of work we do inside my coaching program. I offer weekly live coaching, access to my full self-coaching course, and daily motivation in an intimate community. You can learn more at choosebetterthoughts.com. Until next time, remember, you are already enough, and change gets to feel good. You've got this.